Ancient Egypt, realistically, it was set up where the Nile represented the spinal column. And it also represented the Milky Way that was above it, reflecting the Milky Way above it. So they're trying to set up a relationship of as above, so below, where each of the temples actually corresponded to a different chakra or a different psychic center that was along the spinal column, right? Just like you find in the Vedic traditions, all right? But it was, and so the temples were not only associated, each temple was associated with a different chakra or psychic center, but it was also set up with certain star systems reflected in the heavens along the Milky Way. And this is, so this is kind of a diagram of that. But at each of these areas, different sciences were also taught, in different areas of healing, in different areas of awakening these aspects of the human being. Now, you may be saying, what does this have anything to do with the Knights Templar? So the Templars, I represent the Knights Templar. The Templars were, they had come out of certain families in southern France originally that were passing on knowledge that had been preserved along family lines and that taught certain esoteric truths that, and part of what they also taught was a history where they said that there was certain knowledge that was preserved at different places in Jerusalem and in Egypt in particular. And so when the Templar Order was founded, it was founded because the Crusades had just started. There was fear that if the Crusaders came across these artifacts and these texts that and other things that had been buried in places like in Jerusalem and in Egypt, that they would just disappear, right? Like the Crusaders wouldn't understand what these things were, and they would either destroy them not knowing what they were, or they would end up turning them over to the church at the time, at which point then they would disappear. And there was a belief that, the Templars originally, they were looking at it from a biblical standpoint initially, where there was this time of Noah, right? Where there was a civilization that existed prior to the flood. And that this civilization is the same civilization that Plato was talking about with Atlantis. And so, according to the belief of the Templars, that when this civilization had collapsed, there had been pockets of survival that had spread out in different parts of the earth. And that their family line that had come out of southern France was one of the areas of pockets of survival. And so they wanted to go out and find the other pockets of survival, and they wanted to retrieve the artifacts that were said to have been brought over. So consequently, they went to Jerusalem. They started doing digging under the Temple Mount, as well as other areas in the area, other regions in the area, and they found all these artifacts. And then they went down to Egypt to do the same. And they actually took over all of the major temples in Egypt. And if you go to Egypt, I lead tours to Egypt, but if you go, you're welcome to see this, I pointed out, but if you ever go to Egypt yourself, all of the major temples have Templar graffiti